You wake up with no idea whether it's still night or if the day has already begun. Inside this cell, there is no sun, no sky, no trace of time passing. The only thing that exists is darkness, and a smell so thick it seems to cling to the back of your throat. The stone floor is ice cold against your back. Your body aches as though it's been beaten, and perhaps it has. Your wrists still burn where the chains were tightened hours ago. When you try to move, the metallic clinking echoes through the silence. Slowly, your eyes adjust to the dark. You begin to make out silhouettes around you. People sitting against the walls, people lying in filthy straw, people breathing slowly, and people who are no longer breathing at all. The smell grows worse with every deep breath. Mold, urine, feces, and something sweet and rotten at the same time. It's the smell of death, which has visited this place many times before. Then a terrible truth begins to take shape in your mind. You are not here waiting for comfort. You are not here waiting for justice. You are living something that, in the Middle Ages, thousands of people endured, and many never survived to tell about. Welcome to another video. You are now a prisoner in the Middle Ages. Hours earlier, your life still seemed normal. Maybe you were walking through the city market, working, drinking at a tavern, or arguing with someone. In the Middle Ages, it took only a small conflict for everything to spiral out of control. Someone shouts that you stole something, someone accuses you of fighting, someone simply doesn't like the look of you. Guards appear quickly. No long questions, no real conversation. Your hands are seized and you are shoved through the cobblestone streets while bystanders watch. Some laugh, others whisper. To them, you already look guilty. You are taken to a large stone building, usually part of a castle or a city tower. These fortresses didn't serve only for defense. Deep within their structure, many of them housed prisons, and that is exactly where you are being taken. You descend a narrow staircase lit only by weak torches. With every step, the air grows colder and heavier. The walls become damp and the smell worsens. When they finally stop, a guard pulls open a thick wooden door reinforced with iron, and the cell appears before you. Dark, cramped, and crowded. They shove you inside. The door slams shut behind you with a crash that echoes down the corridor, and that sound seems to announce something you don't yet fully understand, but will soon discover. For a few seconds, you simply stand still, trying to see. Your eyes take time to adjust. There are no windows in this cell. In many medieval prisons, the only light that entered came when the door was opened. Gradually, you begin to make out the people around you. Men in tattered clothing, some extremely thin, others caked in filth. The straw on the floor was meant to serve as bedding, but it is dark, wet, and clearly hasn't been changed in a long time. When you kneel down, you realize something is moving inside it. Fleas, lice, tiny insects that live in the straw and on the bodies of the prisoners. A rat darts along the wall as if completely at home here, and soon another follows, then another. A man, sitting against the stone wall, watches you with exhausted eyes. He speaks quietly, as though he has no energy for anything more. First time here? You nod. He asks another question. Have they given you a trial yet? When you say no, he lets out a short, bitter laugh. In the Middle Ages, many prisons weren't built to hold people for long sentences. They existed primarily to keep people while they awaited trial. The problem was that trials could take a very long time, weeks, months, sometimes years. And during all of that time, you stayed here. Soon you learned that inside this prison, time is not marked by clocks. It is marked by hunger. Once a day, sometimes twice, the door opens and a guard tosses food into the cell. There is no care, no organization. It is literally a bucket being emptied onto the floor. Hard chunks of bread, thin watery soup, bones with almost no meat left on them. Everyone lunges at once, and if you're slow, someone takes your share. If you're weak, you go hungry. After a few days, you learn to fight for every piece, not out of courage, but out of necessity. Water arrives in a dirty barrel. Everyone drinks from the same source, including those who are sick, feverish, or wounded. This causes disease to spread quickly. In many medieval prisons, hygiene simply didn't exist. No one cleaned the floor regularly, no one changed the straw, no one bothered to separate the sick from the healthy. In the corner of the cell, there is a hole in the ground, and that is the only place used as a toilet. But when dozens of prisoners use the same hole day after day, it stops functioning properly. The smell then takes over everything. You try not to breathe too deeply, but after a while, you get used to it. And that, perhaps, is the most frightening part. Days pass, and your body starts to show signs of wear. Your beard grows wild, your hair turns greasy and dirty, your clothes stick to your skin because they are never washed. The flea bites are constant, on your legs, your arms, your neck, and when you scratch, small wounds open. Some become infected. The other prisoners are covered in the same marks. Some are coughing, others have fever. In the Middle Ages, diseases like dysentery and typhus were common in overcrowded, filthy places, and a single sick person could infect many others quickly, with no doctors, no medicine, and no help of any kind. You begin to notice something grim. Some prisoners grow visibly weaker each day. They stop eating, stop talking, and spend hours lying still. Then comes the moment when they don't get up anymore. Sometimes the body stays there for hours, sometimes an entire day, until a guard comes to drag it out, or until the rats begin to draw near. One day, while you're trying to rest against the wall, the cell door opens again. But this time, it isn't feeding time. A guard steps in and points directly at you. Your stomach tightens. You've already heard the other prisoners talk about this. When someone is called like that, it usually means interrogation. You are led down the corridor with chains on your wrists, the metallic sound echoing off the stone walls. The room you're brought to is different from the cell. There is a table, some ropes hanging from the ceiling, and tools that look as though they've been used many times before. A man across the table watches you and asks what you did. You say you're innocent. He asks again. You give the same answer. In the Middle Ages, confessions were extremely important in trials, and when someone refused to confess, many authorities believed that pain could reveal the truth. Your hands are tied behind your back. A rope runs through a pulley fixed to the ceiling. Suddenly you feel your body being hoisted upward, your entire weight suspended by your arms twisted behind you. Your shoulders feel as though they're being pulled from their sockets. The pain explodes through your chest and back. You scream. They ask again what you did. You insist you did nothing. Then the rope drops for a second and is yanked tight again. Each time it gets worse. This method was used in many parts of medieval Europe to force confessions. And after enough time, many people confessed to anything. Not because it was true, but because the body simply couldn't hold out any longer. When you are brought back to the cell, you can barely lift your arms. The other prisoners watch in silence. They recognize the kind of pain written across your face because they have been through the same thing. One man quietly shows you a crooked shoulder, likely the result of that same method. Down here, no one is surprised by anything. You lie down in the filthy straw and try to ignore the pain. The stone ceiling seems lower than before. The air seems heavier, and a question begins to grow inside you. How much longer are you going to be here? After days or weeks in this environment, something strange begins to happen to your mind. Without natural light, without any clear routine, surrounded by suffering, the brain starts to come undone. Some prisoners talk to themselves, others pray endlessly. One man in the cell starts laughing for no reason, over and over. Another stares at the wall for hours, without moving. You try to remember what the world outside was like, the sound of the market, the smell of fresh food, the wind, but those memories begin to feel distant, as if they belong to another life. And maybe they do, because in here, you are just another prisoner waiting for something that may never come. One day the door opens again, and the guard calls a name. It isn't yours. It belongs to a man who was already here when you first arrived. He gets up slowly. He is extremely thin now, his eyes sunken and hollow. The guards take him away, and the cell falls silent. A few hours later, sounds drift down from the courtyard above the prison, a crowd shouting, some people cheering, and then silence. When the guard returns to close the door, someone asks what happened. He answers plainly, "Sentence carried out." At that moment, a disturbing thought passes through your mind. Maybe that man was the lucky one, because at least his waiting is over. As you lie back down in the damp straw, you come to accept something that is hard to sit with. In the Middle Ages, most prisons were not built to rehabilitate anyone. There was no concept of reform, no idea of comfort or dignity. They were simply places where people were kept, forgotten, warehoused, waiting for decisions that sometimes took far longer than the human body could endure. Hunger, disease, darkness, loneliness, all of it was simply part of the life of a medieval prisoner. And as you stare up at the darkness of the ceiling, one last question begins to form in your mind. Does anyone out there still remember that you exist? Or have you, like so many others before you, already been forgotten? The world moving on without ever thinking of your name again?